Welcome to a world where sunlight dances across textured walls, where earth tones and ocean hues blend effortlessly into a timeless palette. In this video, we explore summary Mediterranean home design trends for 2025, a celebration of natural elegance, artisanal beauty, and breezy living. Mediterranean design is more than a style, it's a way of life. It's the feeling of waking up to the scent of lemon trees in bloom, hearing the soft rustle of linen curtains as the sea breeze passes through. In 2025, this aesthetic evolves with a fresh perspective, more organic, more grounded, more aligned with slow living. Expect sun-bathed spaces with whisper-white walls, kissed by shadows from terracotta roofs and woven pergolas. Arches frame both architecture and atmosphere, inviting your gaze through layers of depth and light. From cliffside terraces to cozy courtyards, the Mediterranean mood remains relaxed but never careless. Materials tell the story: lime wash, raw timber, stone underfoot. Each surface is meant to age gracefully, touched by salt air and daily ritual. Handcrafted ceramics, imperfect tiles, and natural textiles add layers of texture without weight. In this design trend, patina is not only allowed, it's celebrated. This year's take on the Mediterranean home softens the contrast between rustic and refined. The furniture is sculptural but subtle, with rounded silhouettes that mimic sea-smoothed stones. Light is not just functional, it's poetic. Golden hour becomes a design element, warming every edge, every imperfection. And it's not just about interiors. The Mediterranean approach flows outward, to patios, balconies, gardens with olive trees in clay pots and gravel walkways beneath. Spaces blur between indoor and outdoor, encouraging connection with nature, with weather, with slow afternoons and long sunsets. In this introduction, we invite you to reset your expectations. Think less about perfect lines, more about lived-in comfort. Let the spaces you see in this video remind you that beauty can be simple, and luxury can be unpretentious. It starts with sunlight. It ends with stillness. So let's begin this journey through the Mediterranean state of mind, where 2025 meets the coastlines of timeless design. is the soul of Mediterranean design, and in 2025, the palette draws directly from sun, stone, and sea. Each hue evokes something elemental: the burnished glow of clay under the afternoon sun, the softness of sea foam on coastal rocks, or the creamy white of ancient plaster walls. These aren't just colors, they're memories of warmth. This year's tones embrace warmth without overwhelming the senses. At the base, we see chalky whites, pale sand, and soft beige acting as calming backdrops. They create a canvas of tranquility, surfaces that reflect light gently and age beautifully. Think of a linen curtain glowing gold in the morning, or a stone wall mellowing under years of sun. From that base, Mediterranean homes add sun-washed accents. Ochre, saffron, dusty rose, and terracotta appear in textiles, pottery, and tile. These tones feel hand-mixed, never flat, never synthetic. They bring life to a room while keeping the mood easy, never forced. In 2025, this mix feels especially relevant, joyful but grounded. Blues return as a cooling counterpoint, particularly soft aquas, sea glass tones, and classic cobalt. You'll find them in hand-painted tiles, shutters flung open to the breeze, or a simple striped cushion on a whitewashed bench. Paired with warmer neutrals, the effect is balanced and serene, like a Mediterranean horizon line. Even pattern plays a role in how color is expressed. Small bursts of coral or green might appear in mosaic tile borders or vintage ceramic dishes. These details are where personality comes in, each piece unique, often handmade, often inherited. The result is a palette that evolves from space to space, never over-designed. The real magic lies in how these colors interact with light. Golden hour adds depth to ochre and terracotta, while cooler tones shift with the breeze. A blue shutter can feel crisp at noon and moody by twilight. This dynamic quality turns even still spaces into living experiences. So when designing or refreshing your space, consider not just what colors you love, but how they behave in sunlight. Mediterranean palettes aren't static, they live, breathe, and shift with the day. It's less about choosing a scheme and more about creating a mood. In this next section, we'll explore the materials that bring those colors to life: raw, tactile, and full of story. In Mediterranean design, materials aren't just functional, they're foundational. They carry memory, texture, and soul. In 2025, we see a return to materials that feel honest: stone, plaster, wood, clay, and linen. Not refined to perfection, but beautiful in their imperfection. The walls aren't flat and flawless, they're lime-washed, hand-plastered, layered with years of light and shadow. Every surface tells a story. Natural stone underfoot feels cool and grounding. Aged wood beams stretch across the ceiling, marked with knots in time. These materials create a lived-in warmth that no synthetic finish can replicate. Textile choices reflect the same ethos. Linen is favored, crumpled, soft, and breathable. Draped curtains move with the breeze. Cushions are covered in natural fibers that soften the space without overpowering it. The tactile quality invites pause, grounding us in the physical space. Tile work leans toward handmade. Zellige tiles, with their subtle irregularities and muted glazes, catch light in unexpected ways. Terracotta returns in both modern and traditional forms, used for flooring, plant pots, and decorative elements. These aren't showroom pieces, they're soulful, shaped by hand, each one unique. Wood is weathered and honest. Rather than shiny finishes, we see matte textures and organic grains. Tables are often crafted from reclaimed timber or vintage finds, adding history and weight to even the most minimal rooms. Mediterranean design values the patina of time. In bathrooms and kitchens, tactile finishes like Tade-lacked plaster or natural stone sinks add a sensory richness. These surfaces absorb light differently, softening the space and creating shadows that shift throughout the day. Even brass fixtures are left unpolished, allowed to oxidize and evolve. Outdoor areas use gravel, bamboo, clay, and stone to extend the natural palette. Benches are built from masonry and softened with fabric. The line between structure and nature is intentionally blurred, allowing the materials to harmonize with their surroundings. In the Mediterranean aesthetic, texture is design. Every crack, weave, grain, and irregularity becomes part of the experience. This is not about visual perfection, it's about emotional resonance. When you step into a room made of these materials, you feel it instantly. It's grounding, calming, human. Mediterranean homes thrive on openness. Walls are not meant to contain, but to frame space, air, light, and life. In 2025, open-air living is more than just a trend. It's a return to rhythm, to ease, to living with the seasons. Designing with flow means erasing the boundary between inside and outside. Doors slide, fold, or disappear entirely. Arches guide the eye and the body from cool interiors to sunlit patios. You walk barefoot from stone floor to gravel path without ever thinking twice. The experience is seamless. Courtyards become private sanctuaries. Framed by white stucco and softened with greenery, these open spaces offer sunlight and serenity in equal measure. Whether it's an olive tree in the center or lavender brushing your ankles, nature is always within arm's reach. Pergolas and covered terraces extend the living room outward. They become dining rooms, reading nooks, or places to gather under a linen canopy. Materials flow from one zone to another: linen, terracotta, reclaimed wood, always grounding the experience in earth and air. Furniture choices reflect this lifestyle. Built-in benches flow along stucco walls. Low tables crafted from stone or salvaged timber blur the line between functional and sculptural. Textiles remain soft and breathable, easy to care for, and always ready to catch a breeze. Light is key. Morning light moves freely through open arches. Midday shade comes from vines or bamboo slats overhead. As day turns to night, string lights or ceramic lanterns take over, casting gentle patterns on floors and walls. The transition feels effortless, intentional. Even bathrooms and showers lean into openness. An outdoor wash area, surrounded by plants and privacy walls, becomes an immersive experience. It reminds us that comfort and nature don't have to be at odds, they can collaborate. This is the heart of Mediterranean design in 2025: movement, softness, and space to breathe. A home that lets the breeze in, that welcomes the sun and shelters the shade. Where open-air living isn't just aesthetic, it's a lifestyle, designed to slow us down and open us up. Modern rustic is the heartbeat of Mediterranean interior design in 2025. It's where old meets new, raw meets refined. The aesthetic is tactile and soulful, rooted in tradition, but shaped for modern living. Furniture pieces lean sculptural. Sofas have soft, curved silhouettes, wrapped in linen or cotton canvas. Their forms are simple but deliberate, offering comfort without excess. Surrounding them, you'll find raw-edged wood tables, with textures you can feel just by looking. Every grain, every crack tells a story. Chairs, stools, and benches celebrate craftsmanship. Woven seats, carved wooden frames, and hand-finished surfaces ground the space. Instead of polished shine, the finishes are matte, organic, and imperfect. It's a language of authenticity. Walls often feature built-in elements, niches, benches, or shelving carved directly into plaster or stone. These forms echo the architecture of ancient coastal homes. Rather than clutter, these built-ins offer gentle rhythm and harmony. Decor is kept minimal but meaningful. A few clay vessels. A sprig of olive branch. A linen throw. Color comes from the materials themselves. Think warm woods, pale stones, and faded textiles. Lighting, too, is part of the design vocabulary. You might see a ceramic pendant suspended over a raw table or a sculptural sconce casting soft shadows on a textured wall. In bedrooms, the rustic feel continues with floating wood shelves or stone niches replacing nightstands. Bedding is always breathable, linen, cotton, or gauze, and layered in tones of sand, chalk, and clay. There's no gloss, no unnecessary decoration. Just softness, light, and air. Even accessories follow the rustic modern theme. A ceramic bowl on a timber console. A stack of books paired with a wildflower arrangement in an old jug. A handwoven rug with just enough texture underfoot. Every piece has a role and every material a purpose. This section reminds us that furniture doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. In Mediterranean design, strength lies in subtlety. Modern rustic style gives space to breathe, space to feel, and space to live. It's not about filling a room. It's about letting a room speak. Mediterranean patterns tell stories of culture, of craft, of coastline villages passed down through generations. In 2025, these motifs remain timeless, but they're being used more thoughtfully, woven into spaces not as decoration, but as heritage. Tiles are the most iconic canvas. Zellage and encaustic styles dominate, each one hand-cut, slightly uneven, perfectly imperfect. They come in cobalt, clay, and sea green, colors that echo the Mediterranean landscape. Whether used as a full wall feature or a small backsplash, they instantly root a space in place in history. Moorish arches and Greek keys return with a modern hand. Instead of overwhelming detail, they're framed in clean stucco or offset with soft minimal textures. These patterns aren't loud, they whisper, balancing geometry with grounded calm. It's all about placement and restraint. Textiles also carry the story forward. Handwoven rugs bring tribal and regional motifs into living spaces, layered beneath rustic furniture or draped casually over built-in benches. Pillows stitched with fig leaves, vines, and waves soften the clean lines of stone or plaster. Even ceramics become a medium for pattern. Painted plates, bowls, and vases often carry the same swirling motifs seen on ancient facades. In 2025, these pieces are displayed proudly. They're not hidden in cupboards, they become wall art, centerpieces, design punctuation marks. Color within these motifs follows a sun-washed spectrum: terracotta, ochre, faded blue, and soft jade. It's not about high contrast, it's about harmony. These are the tones you'd find on an old painted door, a market basket, or an heirloom quilt warmed by time. What's key is balance. A floor might be patterned while the walls remain pure white. A tiled border might trace the frame of a window, or a single bench cushion might carry an entire motif story. The impact is in the intention, not the quantity. Mediterranean motifs are more than visual, they're emotional. They remind us of slow mornings, family kitchens, breezy hallways filled with history. And in 2025, they remind us that meaningful design doesn't always need to reinvent, it can simply remember. 2025, Mediterranean design deepens its connection to sustainability, not through trends, but through intention. Eco-friendly choices are embedded in every texture, every object, every detail. These spaces don't just look good, they live well. It begins with materials. Reclaimed wood, recycled stone, natural clay, and organic fibers are now standard. From kitchen cabinets made of salvaged timber to stone countertops repurposed from local quarries, each element brings history while reducing environmental impact. Handmade touches matter more than ever. Instead of mass-produced decor, homes are filled with artisan-crafted pieces, a woven basket from a nearby village, a jute rug hand-loomed by a local maker, or clay lighting fixtures sculpted in small batches. These items bring soul, and they support circular economies. Textiles follow the same ethos. Linen, cotton, and wool are chosen for being biodegradable, breathable, and beautiful. Many are dyed using plant-based pigments, soft ochres, clay reds, sea blues, linking the colors directly to the land. Every crease and texture tells a natural story. Lighting, too, is shifting. Solar-powered lanterns light up outdoor patios. Energy-efficient fixtures are paired with vintage shades or artisan bases, merging old-world charm with modern responsibility. Light flows where it's needed, naturally and minimally. Local sourcing is a central principle. From clay tiles to produce baskets, the materials reflect what the region provides. A ceramic bowl might come from a nearby village, a wall paint mixed from local lime. Nothing is imported unnecessarily. Every object has roots. Gardens play a key role in sustainability. Many Mediterranean homes now include small compost areas, herb gardens, or gravel patches to reduce water use. Terracotta pots line the edges, filled with native plants that thrive in sun and soil without effort or waste. This isn't just about aesthetics, it's about responsibility. Eco-friendly Mediterranean design isn't harsh or sterile. It's soft, warm, and deeply human. It invites us to live slower, choose better, and celebrate what's local. Because the most beautiful homes are the ones in tune with their place and purpose. and light are the invisible architecture of Mediterranean design. In 2025, they're not just aesthetic tools, they're essentials. They soften, they lift, they create pause. Light becomes both material and mood. Natural light is embraced, not filtered out. Homes are designed with arched windows, wide doorways, and high ceilings that allow daylight to flow effortlessly. Morning light fills the bedroom with softness. Afternoon sun spills into the kitchen, warming stone and wood alike. Sheer linen curtains move gently with the breeze, catching light and casting long, fluid shadows. These aren't just window dressings, they're light diffusers, mood enhancers. They allow brightness in while softening its edge. Spaces feel open because they breathe. Furniture is spaced with intention. There's no crowding, no visual noise. The palette is kept pale and warm, chalk, sand, and soft white, so the light reflects and expands. Floors in limestone or tadelac glow when touched by the sun. Artificial lighting, when used, is subtle. Clay sconces, woven pendants, and recessed lights cast ambient glows rather than harsh beams. Solar lanterns and candles take over in the evening, warming spaces without overpowering the natural stillness. Each hour of the day changes the tone of the room. Morning is clean and clear. Noon is bright and active. Twilight brings shadows and intimacy. The home responds and shifts with light, it doesn't fight it. Even the air itself becomes part of the experience. Open doors and cross breezes replace air conditioning. Light fabrics flutter. The scent of rosemary, lemon, or saltwater drifts through. Movement and stillness balance each other perfectly. In Mediterranean design, the atmosphere isn't something you create, it's something you allow. You design for light to enter, for shadows to dance, for air to move freely. And in doing so, the home becomes more than just a place, it becomes a feeling. Mediterranean design isn't just a style. It's a state of mind. It's the choice to live slower, to breathe deeper, to find beauty in simplicity. Every corner, every shadow, every worn surface tells us to pause, to be present. This way of living is rooted in rhythm. Morning light spills across stone floors. Bread is torn by hand. Coffee is sipped slowly in silence. There is no rush. The space is not only functional, it's emotional. It holds memory and invites presence. Materials are honest. Nothing is hidden. A scratch on a table, the uneven edge of a tile, these aren't flaws, they're stories. They connect us to hands that shaped them, and to a culture that values the lived-in over the showroom perfect. The Mediterranean home is not just for looking, it's for living. Laughing at a shared table. Walking barefoot over warm stone. Taking a moment to sit in a sunlit courtyard and do absolutely nothing. These moments aren't interruptions, they are the design. In 2025, this philosophy is more important than ever. As the world speeds up, this aesthetic reminds us to slow down. To return to tactile comfort, to human scale, to spaces that breathe and evolve with us. The joy of this lifestyle is that it's not about luxury, it's about balance. It's not about excess, it's about essence. One good chair. One perfect breeze. One small room filled with sunlight. That's all it takes to feel held. The Mediterranean state of mind is timeless. It belongs to no trend cycle, no single region. It lives wherever someone chooses peace over pressure, nature over noise. Whether in a coastal village or a city apartment, the spirit can take root. So as we close, remember, the most powerful design doesn't shout. It whispers. It lingers. It welcomes you in, gently, and asks only one thing, that you stay a while.